Da, 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 da.
Hey everybody, this is Jackie Luqman,
And I am Abdul Shahid Luqman.
and this is Live in Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation.
The most dangerous show anywhere.
So it has been a while. It has been a while, everybody, and we thank you so much for joining us again tonight. It's been really, really busy in Luqman Nation.
Very busy.
Really busy.
That's right.
Because, it's been really, really busy in the world of politics, in the world of racial injustice, social injustice, and we've been trying to stay on top of that spinning world of just all kinds of stuff going on. So if you've been following our stuff on our page, you have seen our content for the No to NATO protest that we were involved in a few weeks ago, that we helped organize. Then you would have seen the Black Alliance for Peace, anniversary and domestic campaign launch that we helped organize. We are members of Black Alliance for Peace and supporters of Black Alliance for Peace. You will have also seen some of our content from the Real News Network. So I said earlier today that I think I have to start with a disclaimer. I think I have to start every show, whether it's here on Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation, whether it's a live stream on my page, whether it's on your page, whether it's Pit Bulls and Politics, this is the disclaimer. The views expressed here in Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation are those of Jacqueline and Abdul Shahid Luqman, Coffee, Current Events, and Politics in Luqman Nation, of Luqman Nation, Pit Bulls and Politics, and no one else's. So I don't want anybody seeing us when we're on the Real News Network, just like people heard us on Sputnik every once in a while. Oh my God, the Luqman said this on their show. What does that mean for Sputnik? Or what does that mean for the Real News Network? Nothing. What we say on our show are our opinions that we express on our show. When I am on the Real News Network, I work for them. I do try to express my opinion there, but here, completely separate entity from there. That's the disclaimer.
Man, so all of that just means that we speak for ourselves. We don't speak for nobody else. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay.
All right, so that's out of the way. Man.
Well, I mean, look, we couldn't avoid it. Everybody's talking about it. The Mueller report. Right, Mueller, right?
Mueller. I called him Mueller earlier. I don't know. But anyway, listen.
That's when we thought we were out.
If they pull us back in.
Yeah. But anyway, before we start that, I'd like to welcome you guys to another edition of Coffee, Current Events, and Politics. If you're new, we welcome you, and we hope that you stay. And we just like you said, we haven't done it in a while, but
it's been about 3 weeks since we've done a show.
A couple of weeks, and so we welcome you. We ask you that you share this live stream, invite your friends, and those of you that have been hanging out with us for a while. We appreciate your support, and so let's get to the meat of the things.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna try not to spend a whole lot of time on this Mueller report because it's been out for a day. And everybody, all the pundits have picked it apart and they've given their opinion, and people have, taken particular excerpts out of the report and tried to say, this proves that, collusion, this proves that this other thing, this proves, this, that. Okay, listen, I need to show you this. Let me go to the display camera, because you know how Jacqueline is. I do not like, when I'm talking about facts, I don't like for people to think that I'm making stuff up. I'm going to go to the source. So I'm going to show you what I mean, what I'm with what I'm about to say. So let's go to the display capture.
Roll that bean footage.
Roll that beautiful, disappointing bean footage. It's disappointing. This is from the BBC. This is BBC.com. And the article is, let me scroll up real quick. Mueller report, 8 things we only just learned. Of course, I'm going to give you a link to this report. And a lot of people are making a big deal about this thing that is in the report, this comment that Trump made when Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General he appointed, racist ass Jeff Sessions, who appointed Mueller to be the special investigator in this whole. So, Trump appoints Sessions thinking that Sessions is going to give him cover.
Right.
And Sessions is like, nope, I don't like you that much. I'm not going to ignore this thing. I'm going to appoint a special investigator. He appoints Mueller, and Trump's response was, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency." But the BBC, being the very polite British people that they are, left out the part where Trump said, "I'm fucked."
Right. He added 2 expletives.
So, yes, Trump actually did say this when Sessions appointed Mueller. This quote is actually in the report. People are making a big deal out of this particular comment. I'm not exactly sure why, because, people have said that this is evidence of an admission of guilt. No, it's, I don't see how it's not an admission of guilt. What it looks like to me is exactly what we just said, Abdus. Trump appointed Sessions as his attorney general, believing that Sessions was going to stop this whole investigation into this Russian collusion business from the very beginning. But even Sessions was like, no, I'm not going to, I can't even do that. That'd be ridiculous.
Right.
So Sessions was like, nope, I'm going to appoint a special investigator and it's going to be Robert Mueller. And so Trump was like, oh, fuck, they're going to find out something.
Right.
And it's like, okay, it's like, think of it this way, folks. Think of it if you're on a job. Okay, no, let's say me. Let's use me as an example. I don't like to use other people.
We're on a job. Oh, we're talking about me.
No, because in this particular context, we're talking about investigations, right? So let's say, all right, so let's use you then, because there is a context in which this would apply to you.
Oh, I like to hear that.
Okay, so you drive trucks. You drive trucks for a living.
Yes, I do.
And let's say on your job, you get an opportunity to haul some stuff for the Department of Defense.
Okay.
Right?
Highly unlikely, but yeah.
Okay. But let's say that happens. So now you have to have a security clearance.
Yeah.
And in order to get a security clearance, what do they do to give you a security clearance?
They investigate you.
They investigate you.
Yeah.
Now, look, Jacqueline has done some shit in her life. And Jacqueline does not want a security clearance because Jacqueline has done some shit in her life. So if all of a sudden somebody is like, we're going to have to investigate you to get you this clearance, to get you this job, my response would be, oh, fuck. They're going
right.
I'm not going to
get
the
job, goodbye.
Job. So, I mean, what would your response be if you had to have an FBI investigation into your whole background in order to get a security clearance to get this job?
Well, I guess I just go back to the classifieds because I know I'm not going to get it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I would be like, well, you know what, that job is done. FBI is definitely not going to leave any stone unturned.
So that's the context I take this comment from Trump about. Not, oh, fuck that, my presidency is over because Mueller is going to find evidence of collusion, but, oh, fuck, my presidency is over because I have done some shit and they're going to find, not necessarily that shit, not necessarily the collusion shit, because like we said from the beginning, Luqman Nation has always said this. We have always maintained that there would never be any evidence of collusion with Russia to influence the 2016 election.
I mean, we did say that.
Now, you also said on several occasions, and I agreed with you, that it's very possible that there were other things that Trump did involving financial crimes that the Democrats probably should have focused on. But we always said there was never going to be any evidence found for this collusion with Russia to influence the elections.
All right. Well, let me go back a little bit because you brought up. I want to really put context what I believe, in my opinion, the way that Trump moves. Now let's start with that.
Okay.
All right. Now Trump did appoint Sessions, believing that Sessions would, watch. Look, I appointed you. You're going to watch my back and this and that. We have to understand what world Trump comes from. Trump is not a politician. Trump comes from the corporate world where that is the norm. I mean, the corporate world is like, hey, look, I put you in this position, so you owe me. Now Trump doesn't realize that doesn't work in politics, and especially when you're the president. But when you come from his world and from that corporate world, I mean, that's part of doing business.
Right.
So Sessions, being more a seasoned politician, was like, I know where you're coming from, but I don't want to have to answer to nobody later on down the line. So Sessions is like, okay, I'm going to put this off of me. I'm going to appoint a special investigator, and then I'll put that pile shit on him. And I can sit back. So I mean, that's one thing. And the reason why, and my other opinion is the reason why that and right, Briggy Williams, you're right. That's where I was getting at. The world of accountability, no accountability. And see, so here you got Trump, a CEO. He's at the top of the food chain. So he's like, hey, I gave you this position. So, and you're responsible for investigating me, wink, wink. So, and so that's just the cost of doing business.
Right.
It doesn't play that way in Washington, D.C.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the next thing is the fact of Trump's statement about, oh, my presidency is over and stuff. I think you're right. I think that you hit the nail on the head. Trump, again, not a politician. He don't know what they're going to investigate him on. So he's like, hold up. Now, I know, doing my real estate dealings, I've done some funky stuff. Is that going to be included? Is this going to be included? He doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So so again, it's like, oh, wait a minute. When anytime when we were kids or even as adults, and all right, talking about analogy. When you say to me, Atlas, we need to talk.
What's the first thing you think?
I'm going through my files in my head, like, what the hell did I do? What did I do lately? And I'm like really racking my brain because it's like, we need to talk. And I'm like, I know I did something shit.
I don't say that.
Right. But I'm saying that, so I don't know what she's going to hit me with. But what I do know is in the course of a week, I might have done something. Yeah.
Well, I think this goes back to something you brought up before about Trump that a lot of people discounted. That we talked about because you understood this is the world he came from, being a Jersey boy yourself.
Right.
Trump has spent a lot of time working with underworld characters, a lot of time. You don't get real estate deals done in places like New York and New Jersey and Rhode Island. I didn't know Rhode Island was like a hotbed of
Rhode Island
of mob activity, but apparently
you
it
can't
is.
Hot dog up there without,
I did a little. I had no idea.
Sees a guy who sees a guy.
Yeah, I had no idea, but we all understand the kind of workings, the inner workings, the backdoor deals that go on in places like New York and New Jersey, and that's where Trump made his millions of money that he also lost in bankruptcies. But that's where he did his business. So
it's also where he learned how to wheel and deal.
Exactly.
And again, we said this on this show plenty of times. If you're not from the New York, New Jersey, that part of the region, a lot of things that Trump do may look a little odd. It may seem like, what the hell is he doing? Or why is he saying this? Or why is he saying that? But if you're from that area, you understand that this is the way he's always operated. If you ever look at, and we'll get to the Mueller report, just be patient. But if you ever look at when he, just the other day, I think it was yesterday, he addressed the wounded warriors, right? And typical Trump fashion. Oh, look at you beautiful wounded warriors. I mean, he's saying stuff like, you guys, I don't even call you wounded. You're just warriors. We got the best stuff, and you guys are going. Now, look, these guys are wounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of dealing with the benefits the government could give them and all this other stuff, he's talking about we're going to have the best advanced weapons of war. I lost a leg because I just, I lost,
Right.
I don't
Right.
want to hear about any more military equipment. But in Trump's world, it's a lot of backslapping,
Right. A lot of grandstanding,
a lot of fluffing, and all this stuff. So this is the culture. This is what he grew up in, and so and the grease in the palms and all this other kind of stuff,
right.
and saying that you like somebody that you really hate and all this stuff. So so he brought that to the White House. And if you're from that area like I am, you're like, okay, typical New York, this and that and the other,
Right.
But if you're from the Midwest or you're from some other part, it's like, what's with this guy, So, so that's one thing. So anyway, that's my take on that.
Yeah. So just to wrap that little piece up about that whole this is terrible. My president is fucked. I think what he was afraid of was Mueller digging into his finances, which could still happen,
right.
But Mueller isn't doing that. He's not heading that investigation. The Southern District of New York is handling further investigations. That's what That's what. Okay, okay. Now let's get to the collusion. Let's get to this collusion.
The Southern District of New York.
Woo!
Don't expect anything out of that.
So, this is from an excerpt from the BBC report, because I wasn't downloading that report on this computer. I just wasn't, because I read through it, and I confirmed that these excerpts are actually from the actual report. But I'm sure many of you have read through the report, downloaded it. You can confirm for yourself that the Mueller investigation report does say in the report that no collusion was found in their investigation. Now, let me stop right here. For those of you who are going to sit here and take what we just said and say, see, they support Trump. Trump is a lying criminal piece of shit who shouldn't be president, but we told you that he was going to be president because a whole lot of people in this country like white people like him. And also because Hillary Clinton was a shit candidate who ran a shit campaign.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up Hillary Clinton, because you had a theory, the Luqman theorem, on the reason why the Democrats invested so much time and energy in this.
The reason this whole narrative about collusion has been such an obsession with the Democrats was because they really needed to give an excuse for why Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump. That doesn't have to do with the fact that she was a crap candidate who ran a crap campaign. That's what this whole Russian collusion business was about with the Democratic Party. Not that they didn't have plenty of other stuff to go after Trump for.
Right.
Because you and I, we love our Sopranos and our mob movies. We understand that you're never going to find these kinds of underworld shady characters guilty by following the bodies. Never, ever.
Bodies always disappear.
The bodies always disappear, and nobody is ever going to cop to them. You always follow the money. If the Democrats had done that, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Well, and this is also why I believe that once Trump found out that they wasn't following the money, this is when he became emboldened.
Yes.
Like during the time when all the investigators, he was like, no collusion. Look at that. They don't have anything.
Right.
No collusion. And people was like, oh, he's just repeating this for the news cycle. No, Trump was like, damn, they ain't going after the money. I'm good.
Exactly.
Good.
And let's be clear. Let's be clear about why another reason Trump was emboldened and why this was also another, why I also believe this was just such a ridiculous, what do I want to call it? It was a farce.
Right.
It was a farce.
25, I think one of our viewers mentioned about, Shireen said $25 million in taxpayer money.
Right. For an investigation into...
Damn, $25 million. Why does it cost that much?
Come on. The report, Mueller, let me get to this thing. The investigations report. Remember a couple weeks ago when Barr released his summary and Barr said that the report found no collusion.
Right.
And people were like, Barr is lying.
Right.
I hate to agree with despicable people, but Barr was not lying when he said that the investigation did not prove collusion, because the investigation itself says, the report says, the Russian contacts consisted of business connections. How many times did y'all hear us say that on this show? Offers of assistance to the campaign. Some random Russian people were like, we can help you with the campaign. But none of those people were Vladimir Putin.
Right.
Invitations for candidate Trump and Putin to meet in person. So these were other people who were not Putin, who were telling Trump, I can get you in to meet with Putin, and, or telling people who were connected with Trump, I can get Trump in to meet with Putin. And at no time did Vladimir Putin ever go, yeah, get him over here.
Right.
Invitations for campaign officials and representatives of the Russian government to meet, and policy positions seeking improved U.S. relations. Let me stop right here. That's common. All world leaders do this. When they think one party is going to win over another party, they all do that. Why? They all offer to meet with who they think the next president is going to be. Why? Because they want stuff from the United States government.
You still got to do business with it.
You still got to do business with it. This was, okay, this is the
we
key.
just have to hold our nose, but we still got to deal with this guy.
We still got to deal with these people. All governments do that, all right? Russia isn't particularly corrupt because they tried to get a meeting with Trump once they saw that Trump really was going to win the election.
Right.
While the investigation identified numerous links between individuals with ties to the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign, the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. We never said that there was no connection between Trump and Russians.
Or between
and
Trump's people.
Or between Trump's people. Right. They met. And we said repeatedly, there were business connections, mostly focusing on getting Trump Tower built.
Right.
We also said there was never going to be any evidence of collusion with Russia to influence the 2016 election. The report from Mueller himself on his own investigation just confirmed what we have said for 2 years.
And the thing about people saying that Barr was lying and stuff, really, people, before you want to create these conspiracy theories, please think first. Because after all, if Barr was lying, right? They made the damn report public. So why lie when other people are going to see it?
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. So they're going to be like, he said, oh, well, the report says this. And if he's lying, then, other people are going to see it. And then he got something to answer for.
Right. Look, it's not like we're not sitting here defending Barr. We're not sitting here defending Mueller, because we're going to get to that in a minute.
But what we are about is not living in this fantasy world of thinking, so much of the Democratic Party's political capital, where here it is, they could have been talking about policy, could have been talking about getting what they're going to do to defeat Trump. But what they did was, if I could use a sports analogy, what they did was they shot the ball from half court, hoping that they was going to sink the basket.
That they put up a Hail Mary and they missed. They were way wide. And now they're scrambling to decide what they're going to do, how they're going to get the ball back. And honestly, I don't, other than not interfering with Bernie Sanders' campaign, because see, we're not endorsing anybody. But again, like you said, we're talking about reality here.
That's right.
As far as the Democratic candidate field is concerned, the only Democrat, the only person running who can beat Donald Trump is Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, and I think all the polls say that too.
All the polls say that.
All the honest polls say that.
The only way the Democrats get the ball back from this terribly overshot Hail Mary of this collusion focus on this investigation is if they do not impede Bernie Sanders getting the nomination for the Democratic Party. But you and I know they're too that they're too egotistical. They're too power hungry. They are too they got too much destructive pride to let that happen. So that's another story. But let's get back to this report real quick, and we're gonna wrap this up about why even making Mueller, Democrats and some people on the so-called left, even making Mueller a damn hero is a ridiculous insult.
Having Mueller calendars where he's posing bikinis and stuff.
Hashtag I stand with Mueller. For real? Okay. Anyway, but all right. So let's go back to this report. Barr also said that the report, if I recall correctly, the report didn't prove collusion, but it also did not absolve Trump of any guilt either.
Right.
He did say that in his summary, even though he put a more of a glossy spin on it. Mueller's report actually does point to some evidence that he found of obstruction of justice, right? So it says, on potential obstruction of justice, the Mueller report is far from the total exoneration. Clump. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good Freudian slip. Clump said that he was totally exonerated, but even Barr said that even Barr didn't say that, and the Mueller report does not say that Trump is totally exonerated, because the Mueller report says that unlike cases in which a subject engages in obstruction of justice to cover up a crime, the evidence we obtained did not establish that the president was involved in an underlying crime related to Russian interference.
He wasn't at the crime scene.
He wasn't.
Let's take this to Law and Order.
Right.
Look, we know that he might have ordered the hit, but he wasn't at the crime scene. But he wasn't at the crime scene.
His fingerprints weren't found on the weapon. There was no connection to be found.
When the cops ran in there and took all the keys of heroin and stuff, he was nowhere to be found.
He was nowhere to be found.
Couldn't connect him to that.
Right. But the report also pointedly notes, if we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state. There is nothing in this report that says the president did not commit obstruction of justice.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Based on the facts and the applicable legal standards, however, we are unable to reach that judgment. This is Mueller saying, based on what we've seen, we can't say that he didn't commit obstruction of justice.
But see, that term, obstruction of justice, is a very broad term.
But here's and I'm so glad you said that, because this is where it gets really weird. The evidence we obtained about the president's actions and intent presents difficult issues that prevent us from conclusively determining that no criminal conduct occurred. So wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
See, this is what happens when you get a bunch of lawyers, engaging each other. You get all this,
So Mueller, in his report, says that the facts and the applicable legal standards lead him to not be able to say that the president did not commit obstruction of justice, which in you and me terms means he thinks he did. He sees evidence. There is evidence that suggests that the president did commit obstruction of justice, but that same evidence presents difficult issues that prevent Mueller from conclusively determining that he didn't commit. So this whole statement saying that, on the one hand, Trump wasn't vindicated.
Right.
On obstruction of justice, it also does not clearly say that he did commit obstruction of justice. Partially because of what you just said. That term obstruction of justice can mean like 15 different things.
Obstruction of justice could mean Trump just not answering a question that he was asked.
Right.
That they want to find out, and he's like, I'm not answering that question.
Right.
Which he did say he wasn't going to testify.
But then let's talk about that for a second, because if that is the issue where obstruction of justice is concerned, then that's back on Mueller too. Because Mueller did not subpoena Trump, and he could have, and he should have, but he didn't do it.
But again, the 3-card Molly stuff was being worked on. Now, look, we have to understand this. What would have happened? And see, this is the thing. What would have happened if the report says, "Oh, President Trump didn't do anything wrong. There was no obstruction of justice. I mean, this and that and the other," and then everybody would be like, "Well, come on." All right, now we really do see the three-card Molly, all these people connected to Trump, Mueller, Sessions, and Barr, who basically, took off his clothes to get his job.
That's a frightening,
right,
horrible.
Right. But he campaigned for his job. So the thing of it is that, I mean, if they were to say that the report said, "Oh no, Trump didn't do anything wrong," it's like, come on. Now we know the fix is in.
Right.
So I mean, they got to make it look good.
That's exactly it.
Right. They got to make it look good.
That's it. By the way, you should know, family, Luqman Nation, friends and family, you should know that we don't rehearse this.
No, we don't.
We don't rehearse this. We talk about what we're going to talk about, and that's it. We don't. So when he comes up with a point that I'm going to get to, that's because we have that mind meld.
Yeah, we if we're rappers, we just freestyle. We don't write nothing down.
This is like the best political freestyle. Yeah, I mean, and I do the same, and I can, get to points that because we think alike. And let's show you why he's absolutely right. This is the last thing I'm going to show you in this article about this doggone report, because I'm tired of this foolishness. And listen, I'm not at all saying that Trump's crimes, because I do believe he has committed some crimes.
He's Trump.
He's Trump.
He's Trump.
Of course he's committed some crimes. That's why he was freaked out.
And he's a billionaire. I mean, you don't, look, in America, you don't amass that kind of wealth without criminality being involved. I'm sorry, you don't. You don't amass that kind of wealth. I don't care if it's Bloomberg, all of them. You don't come upon billions and billions of dollars honestly.
No. So, yeah, he's committed some crimes. But here is why this has all been like somebody said on our YouTube channel. Hey, family over
shout out to the YouTube people, man.
Shout out to y'all. Hey, yeah. I'll get to y'all in a minute. Somebody said this is all kabuki theater, and you are right. Mm-hmm. That all of this was just them making it look good. Mueller and Barr and Sessions and all of them making it look good. Because here's the thing, while the report acknowledges a sitting president cannot be indicted, all of the people who were talking about we're waiting on the Mueller report to come out so the president can be indicted, Robert Mueller never, ever intended to indict President Trump for shit.
Not at all.
Because of a 2002 memo, White House memo that says you can't indict a sitting president.
And you know who understood that? Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
Old fox. Oh, the old fox herself.
Come on now.
The old fox herself. See, people was like, see, the Democrats, look, Nancy Pelosi sold out. No, Nancy Pelosi didn't sell out. Nancy Pelosi was living in the real world.
Nancy Pelosi was like, okay, I'm going to whip up the base to get all excited about this, to support the hashtag resistance against Donald Trump. So we can throw up all these ridiculous corporate candidates who aren't actually going to do anything for people except for saying we need to stop Trump. I'm going to whip up this Russian collusion thing to get people all excited for these bullshit, weak, milquetoast, democratic centrist candidates. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually not going to push for indictment of Trump because I know that the 2002 White House memo exists that says you can't indict a sitting president. Yeah, now, we can argue about the legality of that memo or not, but please understand that Robert Mueller never intended to indict Trump from the beginning because of that memo. So this is why, this is why this exists. While the report acknowledges a sitting president cannot be indicted, it also mentions Congress's ability to investigate and potentially impeach him. Here we have the guy who is the special investigator, who is the representative of the Department of Justice, the most powerful and the highest law enforcement agency in the country, saying, we think from the evidence that this president has committed some crimes, but because of this memo from the White House, we can't indict a sitting president. And more than that, we're not going to do anything with this evidence that we have that we think says he commits crimes, but we're going to say in this report so we can wash our hands of it.
Pontius Pilate.
Yup.
Or is it Pontius Pilate?
I think it's I've always said Pontius.
Yeah, well, Pontius. I think it's Pontius.
The Pilate guy.
Right.
Peter
right.
Pilate. But anyway, this is Robert Mueller washing his hands of this investigation against Trump.
Exactly.
The report says Congress may apply the obstruction laws to the president's corrupt exercises of the powers of office accords with our constitutional system of checks and balances and the principle that no person is above the law.
And do you think that a Republican-controlled Senate is going to go along with that? No.
Hell no.
And Trump was right. Let's go back. And the reason why you're not going to see Congress take this on, you're not going to see Congress do any impeachment. You know why?
Why?
Trump was right. Trump said, look, we laugh when Trump says something about if they remove me, it's going to be a civil war.
What?
Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be the North versus the South again. But what I will say is that the Republicans are scared of their crazy base. And they know if they were to take this on and go after Trump with impeachment, then they know that their crazy base. Because, see, it's not about Trump all the time. See, all these other Republicans know that they got crazies where they're from.
Well, I mean, they've got people who are Trump supporters who are threatening the life of Representative Ilhan Omar. 2 people have been arrested who have threatened to kill that woman now, who have openly said they're Trump supporters.
Right. So you dealing with that's 2 that they know of. But the thing of it is, what I'm saying is that they understand the mentality of the people in their base. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the Republican base is crazy, but they got enough of them to be concerned. So it's to the point where it's like, we're not going to go after Trump with this, because then when I go back to my district, I don't know what's going to be waiting for me, you know? So we're not going to see that. And no Republican in this part want to be seen as following the Democrats' lead on this.
That is such a good point. And this political atmosphere is so full of weak, mealy-mouthed, spineless cowards on both sides of the aisle.
It's too partisan.
It's way too partisan. You've got Republicans who are supposedly, the family values and the law and order, and we all know that's bullshit. But these are the people who always talk so much about values and right and wrong and liberty and following the law, knowing that the leader of their party is a lying, sexual assaulting racist, but they won't go against him publicly. They won't go against him publicly because they don't want to lose their jobs, literally. And then you've got on the other side of the aisle Democrats who basically are doing the same thing. Yeah,
but once again, I think that we're missing the point about culture.
Oh, what's that?
Because in that world, and I'm not talking about just the corporate world, I'm talking about in the world of the wealthy elite, sexual deviancy and all that stuff. It's like, okay, who doesn't do that? You know what I mean? So I mean, come on now. I think it was a few years ago, I can't remember, where Clinton was caught up in that whole pedophile thing with this guy who was getting underage.
Well, supposedly, but
again, all right. But Clinton was there. He got a massage. That was proven.
He was on the plane.
He was on the plane. Now, see, you sound like that guy from Casino, when De Niro's character said, "Did I not come to your house for dinner? Wasn't I at your table eating your food when I was there?" And the guy said, "I think I saw you."
See, I told you we like our mob movies.
But anyway, what I'm saying is that once again, when we talk about this whole, these people, they live in a different world.
Yes.
So when we look at Trump with the Stormy Daniels and this and that, man, these people are like, that's all.
That's true. That's a great point.
That's all.
It's like everybody was, not everybody, but so many on the left, a so-called left, anyway, the American political left, Thank you, Paysan on YouTube said Jeffrey Epstein was the pedophile.
That's it. Yeah.
So I mean, people are offering, oh my God, Trump paid a prostitute, and all the other politicians are like, is that it? All the other businessmen are like, seriously, that's all?
Right. Do I know her?
Did he just? Yeah. It's
Do
like,
I know her?
Did I write a check to her?
Yep.
Because I mean, she looks familiar, but I mean, I didn't. I mean, they're asking their accountant. I didn't write a check to anybody named Stormy Daniels. Did I? So you're right. These people run in a different world, and that leads me to. I think that leads us to wrapping up this whole Mueller report issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem with this entire issue, other than the fact that the Democrats made collusion with Russia an issue, and people got so caught up with that they actually recreated or restarted the Cold War with Russia. Now Russia is our great and evil enemy again. And honestly, I don't think Russia's not shooting black people in the street. That's the cops. Russia is not doing the issue that we're going to talk about in a minute. That's American businesses. That's American politicians that are doing to black people and poor people and marginalized people in this country what that's not Russia. Russia's not our enemy. I'm not saying that Russia doesn't do stuff to find out stuff. Sure, Russia spies on the United States government. The United States government spies on Russia.
Hell, Israel, our closest ally, spies on us.
I mean, heck, Israel doesn't even have to spy. Israel will send their prime minister to make an address to Congress. In Congress.
We had a good friend of ours who used to be in counterintelligence, and the good friend told us, he said that there were Mossad agents that would try to recruit American counterintelligence agents. So I mean, so this stuff, nations do that to each other.
Exactly. So the interesting thing about this whole Russiagate business that the Democrats created to give cover to Hillary Clinton to make an excuse for why she lost the election to Trump. She can't have just lost because she was a bad candidate and nobody wanted her and her policies, and she was the campaign was horrible. It had to be because Russia hacked the election and influenced a bunch of people between June of 2016 and November of 2016. That's just exactly right. Playing the Putin card. That's bad enough, but the fact that this Russian narrative has harmed so many black activists, there were so many Clinton supporters who smeared black activists and Sanders supporters online and in person for being Russian trolls. We were accused of being influenced by Russia. We can't think for ourselves. So now we've got that red scare smear again
because this happened to black people in the 50s. It happened to black people in the early 1900s.
And the Democrats facilitated this stuff, but it's just the very fact that people on the so-called left made Robert Mueller their hero is insane.
Right. Now, I want to put the mashed potatoes on the plate with what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
The most dangerous thing, I'm glad you brought up about the black activists like Black Lives Matter stuff, but the most dangerous thing that came out of this is the fact that the federal government lists black activists or can charge you as black identity extremists. That came out of this. Trust and believe. That came out of this whole Russia thing. That now that if you're advocating for social justice for black people, and if you're too visible, then you can be labeled as a black identity extremist, which is really basically America speak for you're just a domestic black terrorist.
Exactly.
Now, another thing. Now, they say that and this is the thing that this nation needs to get honest with. Oh, well, the Russians tried to, and I heard people say this on NPR and other places, oh, wow, the Russians try to divide us by, targeting black people and saying this and saying that and saying this. Well, you know what, people? If our country wasn't so fucking racist, if police wasn't actually shooting unarmed black people in the streets, if we didn't have a mass incarceration problem, if we didn't have a whole lot of things, and we're going to talk about another issue of where black Americans are getting fucked again. But again, if we did, if that's the truth that the Russians exploited these issues in this country, well, let me tell you something, people. They didn't make it up.
Uh,
You know what I mean? They didn't make it up. So it's, you can blame them, but who gave them the fodder to use against us?
you can't exploit something that isn't there.
There you go. So when is this nation going to take responsibility and say, well, the Russians couldn't have did anything if we just wasn't so fucking racist as a society, and the society was so committed on the mistreatment of people of color and stuff like that. So yeah, of course. It's like this isn't the first time either. Mm-hmm. I mean, during the and you gotta rein me in because you know my history.
Not reining you in.
Right. But this is something that has always embarrassed America. Even Malcolm X, when he wanted to take our case to the United Nations. The reason why Lyndon Johnson pushed the Civil Rights Bill, because Lyndon Johnson, when he saw those Southerners on TV with the hoses and the dogs and stuff, he said, how in the hell are we going to go and tell people about democracy overseas and we treating the niggas down here like that? Because he used that word.
Yeah, he did.
And we treating niggas like that down in the South. He said, how this country is going to have the moral stance to talk about spreading democracy? So that's why he pushed that. So the racial problem in America has always been an embarrassment that the world has always used to say, oh man, y'all ain't so hot. Look at how y'all treat y'all niggers.
I told you I wasn't gonna rein him in. Why should I? That was great. But look, man, we're gonna stick a pin in that, because that issue of how blacks are treated in the South, that directly ties to our next story.
Well, before we go next story, we gotta take a break.
We're gonna take a break, but here's why Mueller is this whole making Mueller a hero was just a ridiculous, just an insane kind of, I don't even know what's wrong with people. Robert Mueller was one of the people who perpetrated the weapons of mass destruction lie that got us into Iraq. Robert Mueller wanted to detain Muslims in Guantanamo Bay indefinitely. Robert Mueller was going to be charged with war crimes, but the Supreme Court stepped in and shielded him from prosecution for illegally detaining Muslims after 9/11. That's the person some of y'all have made a hero in trying to take down Trump, without understanding that they're all in the same damn club.
And they all should share the same jail cell.
There was nothing that was ever going to come out of this report from this particular person, from this investigation against that particular person, because like we said, they're all in the same club. All of this was, smoke and mirrors, 3-card Molly. Yeah, we're going to make
David
it look...
Copperfield all
That's
over.
all. Yeah, we're going to make it look good, make it look like we're really doing something, and make it look like we're making a bit... Now, look, not saying that nothing can come out of whatever continued investigations are going on into other things that have been redacted from this report, but please don't be disappointed that Trump is not going to be indicted because of the Mueller report. He was never going to be indicted by Robert Mueller from this report. So there's that. There's our commentary on the Mueller report. We are going to take a little break for about 2-3 minutes, and we will be back to talk about, can we please move on from wage inequality for black people, especially in the South? We'll be right back. Stick with us.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to come at you.
Okay, we have returned.
Yep.
We hope you have taken a little break and gotten a little drink. We have.
So,
So, you made a great point before the break
what did I say?
about the reason Lyndon Johnson pushed the Civil Rights Act was because when the images of racist white people in the South, especially particularly the police, beating up black people who were just trying to vote, went around the world, then Johnson rightfully said, "How in the world can we talk to anybody else about democracy when this is how we treat black people in the South?"
Right.
Although he didn't say black people. Well, how shocked would you be to find out that not a lot has changed, especially for black people in the South? And that's really, really important for us to understand when we are talking about issues of addressing income and wage inequality in this country. Here's what we mean. Let me show you. Let me make sure it's on the article and not on some other page. Because I'm infamous for doing that, clicking on stuff. African Americans' wages nearly stagnant over a decade. This is from West Virginia Public Broadcasting. This is great that it is from a source that is not corporate media.
Right,
it's a public broadcasting source, and it's not something that we went looking for. Where did you hear this from?
Well, when I was preparing for yesterday, when we were preparing for today's show, and you, editor-in-chief, said, "Damn it, the hell, go in there and find something that we can talk about tomorrow." See, y'all think Jackie's really nice. She is nice. But she said, "What are you doing, producer? Go in there and find something so we can talk about tomorrow." Okay, so I was looking through stuff and this came up.
So, the story says that the article, it's not a story, it's an article. Sorry about that. Bad journalist. The unemployment rate is near historic lows. This is why this talk about the unemployment rate is absolute bullshit.
And the way that Trump uses it.
Yeah. The job market is tight and wages have risen steadily. But since the Great Recession, wage gains have varied significantly by race, with African Americans' earnings nearly stagnant over the whole 10-year period.
Now, before we go there, this is the problem with America. Now, in that article, this is from West Virginia. The West Virginia Public
West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Now, look at how they phrase that second paragraph. It says that wage gains since the Great Recession, which was 10 years ago, roughly, right?
Right.
Wage gains have varied significantly by race. And that is the problem in this country, that we can't get over race.
Right.
And we can't get over treating people based upon that. Neely Fuller, Jr., one of the great thinkers on race, on white supremacy, that's one of the things that he says that I agree with so wholeheartedly. That white supremacy is a system. It's not about people just calling you the N-word or people just, or don't want you to move next door to them and all that stuff. No, it's a system where it affects, and as Neely Fuller Jr. says, and I would encourage everyone to look him up and check out his videos. I post them on my page a lot of times if you want to go check that out. But he says that white supremacy affects all 9 areas of our lives, and he lists, all of the 9 areas. But here it is. Employment. So this now when it says here that it has been varies significantly by race. Now, mind you, they're not mentioning they're not saying that it's blue collar. They're not saying that it's college educated African Americans. So that means that this runs the whole gamut. It could be blue collar all the way up to those who think that it's a meritocracy because I went to college and I got my degree and I got this.
What was I talking about earlier today?
Exactly. Right. So this, America's a fraud. America's a fraud. America is a concept that they can never live up to, at least not haven't lived up to yet. It's a fraud. So what it is that you got all of these people of color, our kids, and that's going around getting these degrees and all this other kind of stuff. And guess what happens? Guess what happens? Because of something that they had no control over, which is how you were born, you got some sucker somewhere talking about you're not going to get paid as much as this person because of the color of your skin.
Right.
You're
right.
not worth as much. And basically that's what that says.
That's exactly
you're
what
not
it
worth
says.
as much.
But here's why that is perfect. And this is not something, and let's make this point. Let's come off of here for a second. Let's make this point, because we're gonna go further down in the article and talk about why this matters as far as the politics in the South and the way we talk about wage and income inequality and addressing it in this country. But across the gamut professionally, Black people make less money in every profession than everybody else. That is not a function of Black people being lazy. That's not a function entirely of Black people being credentialed.
Right.
But even when it is an issue of education or the lack of the same level of education, then you've got to take into consideration the other part of the system where our education system is racist. And Black kids, especially poor Black kids, get a lower quality education, public education. Do you understand where I'm going?
Of course, yes.
So this is not an issue. This is also not something that immigrants are doing. Okay, let's be really, really clear here. This type of inequality is perpetuated by business owners, the people who make the decisions on how much to pay people in these jobs, the people who decide who to hire whom, and the politicians who let them get away with it. And let me prove that to you right now in this article. I'm going to scroll down to the statistics and all that kind of good stuff. Let's see, Valerie Wilson, director of the program on race, ethnicity, and the economy at the Economic Policy Institute, that's one of our favorite sources for statistical data, attributes the racial wage gain disparity to numerous factors, including lower educational attainment. Remember what I just said about white supremacy and racism in the public education system and in the private education system. Okay, that means higher education, college, and higher unemployment among Blacks than most other groups. That's not Black people being lazy. That's not immigrants taking jobs from Black people. That is business owners not intentionally not hiring Black people.
And it's also, and those business owners are doing that because of the culture in this country.
Right.
See, one of the things that happened to Black people, we can't ever forget this, is that the biggest stain that has been put on Black people in particular is the whole thing of Black inferiority.
Yes.
I mean, the white supremacists, and when we say white supremacists, we're not talking about every white person, but we're talking about white supremacists who have used their education, their scholars, all of their resources to stamp us as being inferior. And that stamp is still with it. And so generation after generation, when decisions are made about us, that is at the forefront. And people say implicit bias or whatever they say. Yeah. So people use that term implicit bias and stuff like that. Well, what the hell that means? Implicit bias means that I hate you, but I don't know why. I just know that it's something about you I don't like. But then here you got a child that's born in the world, a Black child is born in the world, and and being told that if they do X, Y, and Z, and if they do this and do that, then
follow all the rules.
Then the treasure houses of America will be open to you.
Right.
In my Louis Farrakhan there, will be open to you. And then
Louis Farrakhan
be open to you. And so what happens is that this child, because we were all Black children at one time, I believed it, Jackie believed it. So we grow up being told in these crappy See, first of all, we didn't know the schools we were going to were substandard. I didn't find out that look, I have teachers that taught me who are my Facebook friends. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the educational system. We had good teachers, but they couldn't work with nothing. And let me tell you something. I did not know that I went to a substandard school and that I wasn't being educated the way I should have been educated until I went to college.
Yep.
And when I went to college, and I took all their tests, and they were like, all my classes are remedial.
Right. Same.
And I'm like,
Same.
why am I going all the remedial class? Well, because
Same.
you can't write. You don't know how to write an essay. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. And I'm saying, well, they taught me that. So the thing of it is that even now, 2019, my daughter, who was a substitute teacher at the high school I graduated from, who was a substitute teacher who told me and Jackie that she went in the basement and seen all of the updated books being stored away, and our kids were using books that still had my handwriting in it from the early 80s.
And that's not,
and that's not an exaggeration. This is what she said.
This is what happens. So that's not black kids not valuing education or black parents not valuing education. That is the system of white supremacy that provides a lower quality education to black children than it does to other children.
And let's ask why that is. Because, see, we have to ask the why. When we first started Luqman Nation, we started Luqman Nation because we said nobody asks us why. And so we'd say, why is it like that? Why is it that we have a video on our page right now where activists in my hometown of Camden, New Jersey are fighting to keep schools open because they're closing schools in Camden left and right. Camden, New Jersey is one of the poorest cities in this country. Look it up. And it was one of the most violent cities in this country. Look it up. And now they're closing. I mean, my high school, when I graduated back in the early 80s, we had a 90% graduation rate. You know what Camden High School was, I think, the last time I checked? Like 40%.
Jesus.
It was 90% when I was there, 40% now. And you know what? And now they're closing schools and stuff. So we have to ask why. Why is because in this system of racist capitalism, you have to have somebody that you feed the machine. The machine has to be fed by somebody, and black people have always been used as currency in this country. Can't educate because we had, there has been this racial caste system in this country has been used, has been implemented from the beginning as black people being the fodder for this racist capitalist machine. So you can't give us what you give your kids because your kids, you mean for your kids to rule over everybody. That's what white supremacy is.
That right.
The founding fathers said, their founding father, ain't not mine. Their founding fathers said when they wrote this is for us and our posterity. Yeah, not for the little nigglets we see running on our plantations.
Who were not included in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights in the first place.
What's her name? The one that Thomas Jefferson had.
Sally Hemings.
Yeah, not for Sally Hemings' kids that she had. Not for them. It's not for all of the people that's building Washington, D.C. and their kids and all that stuff. No. We're building this nation for our posterity, our future, and that the white supremacists still believe the same way. They're not going to give us, no matter what kind of lip service that they say. Jackie and I were at the demonstration for the 60th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education last year, and you know what? It's worse now than it was when they filed the damn lawsuit.
Yep. And because we're still married to this narrative, we, meaning black people, now I'm talking about black people now, so many of us are married to this capitalist narrative that we have to jump all the capitalist hurdles and meet all of the capitalist standards to say that we are successful in this system, that we don't even understand that we're not free. We're not free. So we don't understand that we have to fight for freedom from this capitalist system. Understanding that these kinds of things go on that I'm about to show you is one step to realizing that we're not free and why we're not free. Let me show you this. Wilson said that the minimum wage hike instituted by state and local governments in recent years have helped low-wage workers of all races. But, she added, these places are not where many African Americans live.
Wow.
What does this mean? Now, I need you all to stop and think about, for a second, this movement for raising the minimum wage and the fight for 15.
I'm glad.
And some states and some cities that have raised the minimum wage. Washington, D.C. being one of the places, Seattle. But even as these places have raised the minimum wage, think of what the population of black people is in most of these cities. It's not 50%.
Right.
In most places. I know it's not in D.C. anymore because of gentrification. But then think of what has happened alongside the raises of those minimum wage rates in those areas. The cost of living has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
The black population has actually decreased. And things are happening like what you just said in Camden, New Jersey. They're closing public schools in predominantly poor and black neighborhoods. This matters. These things matter. How many black people live in this area matters, because these minimum wage increases are not happening in the states where black people are, if not the majority, a significant part of the population, and that's in the southern states.
And another thing too, we have to bring this up, because we just had this happen here in D.C. With the Initiative 77.
Right.
So even when black people in the majority who voted for Initiative 77, which would raise the wages of restaurant tip workers, then the city council and the mayor, the black mayor and the city council, they all sat back and said, "Well, you black folks don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all don't know what you don't understand this." So they overturned it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so even in other so again, we're lied to again, that our vote matters, and we find out that it doesn't. And then another thing is that, Jackie, and you brought up a good point, but this is another point to add with that, if I may, is that even when they bring up the minimum wage in these areas, even when they raise it, a lot of these jobs are not where black people live.
Right.
So you're talking about access to these jobs that have these higher minimum wage, where we know traditionally that black people, poor black people, don't have access to get out there to these suburbs and these where these jobs are.
And these are also places that are not going to invest any money in public transportation.
No, not at all.
So black people are still left out. But look from this study, in particular, southern states, when we're talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's not enough. This is why it's not enough. African American workers haven't benefited as much as they would from a federal minimum wage increase, said Wilson, which would get into those southern states that have about 60% of African American workers. 60% of black workers live in southern states that are run by racist ass Republicans.
Because most black people live in the South. That's still the demographics are still that way.
And are much less likely to increase minimum wages.
Now before we go, we gotta connect this. Ever since the end of slavery, America has always not wanted to set us free. America has always come up with different shit to keep us chained to the plantation. We know that through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow, through convict leasing, through sharecropping, all of this other stuff. Even tipping was a black thing, so they didn't have to pay black people because we covered that.
A full wage.
A full wage, and tip workers weren't eligible for Social Security.
That's right.
You know, so we were left out of that. And then when black people got wise to that and we fought for that, then the white supremacists morphed into something else. Then they morphed into something else. Now the morphing is that now we're still economically disadvantaged in this country. Why some of you people out there still want to debate reparations? Now you see why we get so pissed off.
So do you understand what I mean?
Because
now?
We are privy to what we see. And we're sitting here like, damn, we've been tied to the plantation since they brought us here. And then they, and we really haven't been freed, never really gained economically in this country, because as soon as, the government, or as soon as something looked like it's going to us, then there's somebody that says, well, what about them? And what about them? And what about them? So what happens is that our condition is never addressed specifically. Now, the shame of what you just brought up is that this happened on Obama's watch.
Ooh. Ooh, goodness gracious.
The first black president.
Because the Great Recession happened under...
It started with Bush, but he inherited. And while he was running around here bailing out Wall Street, bailing out the auto people, doing all of this other kind of stuff, black people under his watch had lost more wealth than even under Bush, even under Reagan, even under the ones that, Obama. Black people lost more wealth. We had the largest foreclosures during that time.
That's right.
And we still haven't recovered. It's been 10 years later.
The only group of people who have still not recovered.
Right. The only group of people still haven't recovered. Now, while everybody, including Latinos and Asians and everybody else, was having wage increases under Obama's watch, guess what? We remained stagnant. While he was running around telling us, pull your pants up, be responsible fathers, this and that and the other. So, so then here we are in 2019, about to be 2020, and we're talking about, damn, we need reparations, and we still got people saying, well, I don't know, how are we going to do this? People, we are in a dire condition in this country. And I'm going to tell you something, and people might not like this. White folks, when it comes to reparations, stay the fuck out of it. It is not your battle. This is between us and the government and those corporations and everybody who profited and got rich off of the blood and sweat and tears of our ancestors, and they're living swell. They've been putting their kids through college. Their kids got mansions, and they go to Mar-a-Lago or Largo, whatever.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago, and they go to Palm Springs, and they're able to have spring break in Paris and all this other kind of stuff off of the sweat and tears of inherited wealth that our ancestors created, and the descendants of our ancestors is dealing with stagnant wages, is dealing with closing schools, is dealing with mass incarceration, is dealing with racist policing, is dealing with all of this other kind of stuff. So we got a justified grievances, and when we take our grievance as being outside of the, I guess, the pilgrims, everybody, we came here in 16 something. 500 years. 1619. African, the first Africans, allegedly the first Africans, but that's another story. But white folks admitted that that Africans did come at least then. So 500 years. So all of this stuff, and we're still in this condition. And then here we're talking about, oh yeah, the government owes us this and that and the other. The United States is the United States and wealthy because our ancestors bled, died, all this other kind of stuff. And a lot of y'all got to sit up there and talk about, well, what about the Native American? This is between us and the government. Stay the fuck out of it.
And let's be clear, the Native Americans have a grievance with this government too. Yes, other groups of people have grievances with this government too. But let's be really clear. Rarely do other people chime in when other groups of people say, we have a grievance with the government, and say, well, what about black people?
They never say that. They never say that. I mean, when the Japanese went for their...
Nobody ever said, no, we can't give you this. What about the black people?
When they just passed, and we brought this up to y'all too, when they just passed the latest Jewish reparations bill that Bernie Sanders and all of them else signed. Yeah, now, it's funny, he didn't know what reparations was when it comes to us, but he sure knew what it meant when it came to the Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. And it wasn't just the survivors. It was also
their families
and all this other kind of stuff. So, and Obama signed that. And under Obama's watch, we couldn't get, our wages couldn't increase under the black president. Our foreclosure rate was higher under the black president. Everything, we lost the largest amount of wealth under the first black president. But guess what? He found it in his heart to give some more to Jewish survivors of the Holocaust and their descendants and all this stuff. So and nobody said, well, what about black people? Y'all never say it. And so you know what? In Luqman Nation, we talk about the truth. And so when we are going to the government, and when we go to Sanders and Booker and everybody who say they want our vote, and we sit up there and say, okay, so what you gonna do for us? Don't sit up there and tell me that I need to be quiet because I'm hurting his chances for fuck his chances for winning. You know what I mean? Not when we've been sitting in this country for 500 years and y'all keep on saying, don't worry, it's coming. Just, and then when we do try to talk up, then everybody, well, what about the Native American? What about this? What about, well, what about us? And that's what we're saying right now.
Right.
So again, our conversation with reparations between those who want to rule us And if those who want to rule us, you damn right, they got to deal with that reparations talk. And you know what, white folks? Y'all got y'alls. Y'all been getting y'alls. Y'all gonna continue to get y'alls. Stay out of this.
And I mean, ooh, you're smoking over, just on fire over.
I know, I'm sweating like
It is important for those of us who are in this reparation struggle, I think, to make, and who have been for a long time. Let's make this clear. We've talked about reparations before on this show. For those of you who've been our friends and our family for a long, we've talked about reparations. So there's a group of people right now, these ADOS people, I didn't want to call their name, but I couldn't help it, who have had basically they have ridden the waves of a Twitter hashtag, and I'm not mad at them for that. Cause look, I will be the first to admit that us revolutionaries, we've been burned by this government so much that we don't trust social media. I admit that. I have told several people that our lack of smart use of social media to advance the Pan-African and the Black revolutionary message, that's hurt us. And look, these ADOS folks have been able to use social media and create this hashtag phenomenon. Let's make something very clear. They are blaming people for the condition Black people are in that is not the fault of those people. This isn't done to us by immigrants. Immigrants are not coming here taking our jobs, making our wages stagnant. That's not immigrants doing that. People don't want to leave their country to come to another country to clean somebody else's toilets. No, nobody wants to do that. People are coming to this country from across the southern border because this government has been fucking around in their country, destroying it for decades, and these people can't stay. So the answer to our problem, our unique situation, is not based on what those people who are being pushed out of their home by this government are doing. It's not to keep those people in the hell of a situation that our government created. Our answer is to hold those politicians accountable, and not just hold them accountable, but to get rid of the ones who are fucking us all over. Get rid of all the ones who are screwing us all over. While we are in this struggle to detach ourselves from capitalism, because capitalism is the problem. Capitalism and the white supremacy that it stands on. That's the problem.
Capitalism is the economic arm of white supremacy.
It absolutely is. So while we're in this struggle to educate our people about the evils of capitalism and why ain't none of us gonna be free while we trying to be Black capitalists, look, we are all for people getting that bag however you can. If you ain't gonna get caught, that God bless you. Honestly, in the system we have now, get what you can while you can get it. We will never be mad at anybody for getting that bag.
People used to get on my, people used to come at me when I used to say this. But I used to always say, if a Black person could get away with robbing the bank, rob that motherfucker.
I mean,
and people say, "Oh, are you condoning criminality?" It's not criminal when you owe me. And see, that's the thing. See, it becomes criminal when I had a fair shot here.
Right.
It becomes criminal. See, if we all started off at the same gate, if the government would have corrected its wrongs to me and stuff like that, so I don't have to steal. Mm-hmm. If my grandparents could have been part of the New Deal under Roosevelt, if they could have been part of the expanding suburbs, if they weren't discriminated against by redlining, if they weren't all of this, then I would say, you know what, I need to uphold these American values of not stealing and this and that and protecting but it's not criminal. And this is what I believe in. You could disagree with me, but it's not criminal when it's not criminal when it's such injustice. When you have a people who've been here 500 years and have never had a break. Never. There was never a peace period where we could look back and say, wow, remember them white folks left us alone, man.
Yep.
Years.
Woo. Ooh, that was great.
Yeah, remember when we was going down through Georgia and stuff, and they, white folks didn't bother.
We weren't scared of the police.
Right. So it's like there was never that time. So and even when we tried to get away and start our own communities, then they come and destroy that. And, and this and that and the other. And like I'm saying, we're talking about the white supremacists. All white people aren't racist, and all white people aren't white supremacists. We made that clear. I ain't gonna say it again. If you didn't catch it, then I'm fine. But I'm not gonna say it again. But the white supremacists and their foot soldiers, because that's what the poor whites are that follow that. They're foot soldiers, the ones that shoot up the churches and burn the churches and stuff. And so we have to understand that we have never had a break in this country from racial terrorism and racial trauma. So we never had a break. So when you have a people who's been traumatized that long and stuff like that, I tell them, if you can rob Wells Fargo, rob it. You know what I mean? Break me off.
I mean, how do you think Wells Fargo got to be Wells Fargo?
They started off as a stagecoach.
Do you think Wells Fargo and all these banks got to be the big financial behemoths that they did, and the CEOs got to be the CEOs and the board of directors by playing fair and playing by all the rules? You must be kidding me. There's a man in the White House right now who we just told you we know committed some crimes. He had to have. That's the environment he came from. The Democrats just went after the wrong crimes. That's all. So you mean to tell me I'm supposed to be concerned about how people decide to like I told the guy in the cab today, coming from Baltimore, and he's talking about, these kids in DC shooting and robbing and killing each other, in the hood. They just don't want to work at McDonald's. I was like, look, when you take jobs out of a community,
senior citizens got that.
Look, first of all,
what plan
kind of when the society you live in doesn't even provide for a comfortable retirement for people who are outside of the working age, and they have to take a job at McDonald's to subsidize their income. What our kids are supposed to do?
And what people don't understand is that's what Social Security was set up for.
That's exactly
and check this out, folks. For those of you who don't know, we have a smart audience, so a lot of y'all know this. But we borrowed that system from Germany. The Germans, Hitler and them was giving their elderly people a Social Security, and America adopted that Social Security system from Germany.
You know what the Nazis adopted from us? White supremacy.
Well, and you know what? You're right, because one of the things, you know what Hitler based his Jewish policy on, off of how we treated the Native Americans,
Crow, and the genocide of Native Americans.
Right.
Well, the genocide of Native Americans and Jim Crow, to be historically
He admired America for that.
Right.
He wrote that in Mein Kampf, and he admired America for their mistreatment of the Native Americans.
So when we're talking about trying to connect this all together to pull it in and to move on to our last story
Nope.
Just really quick.
Right.
The last story.
Yes.
See?
Right.
It's that.
That's because I'm tired, y'all.
I know. I'm tired
I've been up since
too.
4 o'clock this morning.
But see, this is what happens when we get together and we talk to you guys. We get a little bit energized, but we're hungry and we're tired and our energy is failing. But listen. When we're talking about especially in this Bernie Sanders revolution, this progressive, and that's not really progressive, but that's another show, but okay, this progressive revolution that people are all excited about just in the context of electoral politics. If you are talking about addressing wage and income inequality, and you are not addressing how in states where 60% of the black working population lives is not raising the minimum wage, so you've got 60% of the working black population in this country still living in poverty wages. If your progressive Sanders leftist movement is not talking about that, then you've got a problem. You've got a serious problem in how you view class and race issues in this discussion about addressing income inequality. So don't tell me that we're supposed to sit here and obsess over one rich, powerful white man playing three-card Molly with 25 million American dollars for 2 years to fake an investigation into another member of his club that he never intended to indict in the first place, while the actual financial crimes that this guy has probably committed gets don't nuh-uh. Because see, we got to live with real world consequences for the kinds of stuff we just talked about. And this might seem funny, but this is how this shit plays out. Aside from black folk being disproportionately poorer than everybody else, and that's not immigrants' fault. It's not black people's fault. It's not us buying Starbucks. It's not us being lazy. It's not us liking trying to be rich. It is business owners. It is corporations. It is politicians. It is white supremacy. But this is how it plays out. Let me click on the link to make sure, and then we're gonna be out. This might seem like a funny story, but I need y'all to take a listen to this.
And no, you know this is true because this is from Angie Ange.
This is from Angie Ange in Fox DC. Angie.
The university is silent so far about its official stance, but students have plenty to say, accusing neighboring residents of using the yard, which is the heartbeat of Howard University's campus, as an outdoor gym or a place to walk their dog.
The yard is for the students, and although everyone loves pets, I feel like it's disrespectful to have the pets just running around, especially when there's several parks around here. If they come on the yard and they're just walking through, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I still feel like there are other ways to get around DC without having to cut through a college campus.
They're in part of DC, so they have to work within DC. If they don't want to be within DC, then move the campus. I think we need to work together, and I don't think it should be a he or there or here. It's our community, and that's how it should be.
Again, Howard.
Hold up. I got a comment on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The university.
All right. Are we back?
We are back.
All right, this guy. Because it's the first time I'm seeing this. But once again, this is white supremacy. This is the attitude of white supremacy. White supremacy. One of the major characteristics of a white supremacist is arrogance.
Yes.
It's arrogance. Now here it is. Howard University's been there longer than he's been there.
Howard has been there since 1865.
Right. 1865, and here you got this colonizer. Because when you talk like that, we got to understand something. If you come, we got white neighbors where we live at right now, and they respect us. We respect them. We get along with them. Get along with that. That's what being part of a community is. What this guy is saying, oh, it's ours. No, it's not ours if you don't respect the people that's already been there.
Exactly.
No, it's not ours. No, what it is you're coming in as a colonizer and saying that you don't have to respect these people because the white supremacist attitude is I'm white and I have money. And so what are these little black kids going to Howard University? Their college ain't even, so it's not Yale. It's not this. It's not Harvard. You know what I mean? So we have to understand that white supremacy is an ideology. It's an idea. It's the way that they view the world. And white supremacy is the domination of people of color. And that's what it is, plain and simple. So when he comes in, here it is. This young man said, we don't mind him, using the park.
Right.
But, and this is, look, we got white neighbors that moved in. And we said this on our show. There was nobody spray painted cracker get out. You know what I mean? Nobody burned a ankh on their yard, an ankh on the lawn.
That might have actually been kind of cool. It might have.
Nobody.
Welcome some vibes.
Look, white women, they jog all up and down around in our neighborhoods and stuff. Nobody bothers them. You know what I mean? Now we can't say that. We just had 7 black churches down in the South burned down. There's plenty of stories of black families moving in places. And even if they visited somebody, then you got the white supremacists calling the cops because they're walking while black and all. So white people that come in our areas don't really have that problem. And y'all don't have that problem is because deep down inside, we understand that, y'all ruling this right now. We don't want to admit that, but we know like that white guy can sit up there and say what he said because he feels like in his mind, I'm white and that makes me boss.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I don't have to respect nobody. And we just had just in another community where where another DC institution of go-go music, which DC is created that the most Africanized American R&B music that you're ever going to hear in this country. So we had a merchant who's been there for years, right?
Yeah,
Playing
yeah.
this go-go music. He is part of this community. Everybody knows this is what this guy does. But then you got a few snotty white supremacists move in. And I know that neighborhood well because as a truck driver, when we build their lofty beehives that they be in, their little hive that they collect in, they used to call the cops on us, and we're truck drivers. We're building their shit. And they would call the cops on us because guess what? It's too many trucks. I don't want to see all those dirty little blue collar workers. So the cops would come around because the cops are the enforcers of white supremacist capitalists. So they come around and, property is worth more than people in the minds of America. And so the police come and they would give us $1,000 tickets. We're working people. And they would give us $1,000 tickets and like we could just dig in our pocket and just pay that. So here it is in the same neighborhood, this guy playing go-go music. Oh, there was like one lady. Oh no, she complained. Oh, he got to turn that music off. And so, but see, this time we pushed back. And when I say we, the community, black people, and some whites who didn't like it either, it was out there, it was crowded. They pushed back. Now that man could play the go-go music. You can't. Part of colonization is you want to wipe out the culture.
Right.
And that's what a lot of these gentrifiers who claim that, oh, well, we're bringing wealth, we're bringing business, we're bringing this.
We're bringing progress.
Right. But see, what happens is that in any colonization effort, the first thing you want to do is remove the natives and wipe out the culture and rewrite the story and say that the Shaw neighborhood, we were always there.
Right. So, you've got this system of white supremacy that on the front end, the members of the white supremacist club of powerful white men will literally cover for the crimes and misdemeanors of other powerful white men in high places, while you've got regular white people who are telling everybody else that we have to focus on those folks. Meanwhile, you got white people coming into our neighborhoods treating us like that because they're emboldened by a culture, by a society, by policies, by everything in this country that tells them that an institution that has existed in a community that was there since 1867, everything in this culture tells people like them that they have a right to come in and say, well, this is our community, and if these people don't like it, they can move the campus, the college campus that's been there since 1867. Why? Because I want to bring my dog on the campus he can pee and crap on the yard of the campus.
And my dog is more important than you black college kids and your HBCU.
So listen, all of this, everything we talked about tonight.
NSA messing with us. We're freezing up.
Yep. We got the attention of somebody, so we got to go. But everything we talked about is a symptom of the sickness of this society. Where it's white supremacy, it's capitalism, it's classism, it's racism, it's sexism, where you got powerful white men, one powerful white man who was a liar and a war criminal in the first place, covering for another powerful white man
who's a draft dodger,
dodging liar, and
I have bone spurs in my foot. I can't fight.
Then you've got politicians who will not pass legislation to raise the minimum wage in states where 60% of the working population, the black working population, or the working population of black people in this country live. So you got 60% of the working population of black people in this country still living in abject third world poverty in those states that are run by those politicians who are literally like saying, fuck black people, because they know this is the outcome. And yes, they will sacrifice white people to keep black people exactly where they are.
Well, hell,
they will.
They fought a civil war, and it was the bloodiest civil war that we ever had, the bloodiest of conflict that America ever engaged in. And who mostly died on that battlefield? White people. So, I mean, the poor Southern whites and the poor Northern whites, they all became worm food over this one question on who controls the Negroes.
And fighting the rich man's war
Fighting the rich
that
man's
they
war.
did that they
Right.
wouldn't have benefited from either way.
Yeah, kill the state rights, kill all this stuff. It was
Yep.
the states' rights if we could keep slaves. And who died for that? Poor northern whites, poor southern whites, and black people died. Well, black people died trying to fight this beast on the far of freeing their people. They had a different motive for fighting. But the thing of it is that yeah, white supremacy don't they're look in any war you're gonna have collateral damage. Right. So they look, that's just the cost of doing business. But white supremacists will tell you this, but they'll lose more of their people before we lose more of ours.
That's right.
You know, and
That's right.
look, they bought Dylan Roof Burger King. That was like saying, "Good job, son.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah,
son.
you're gonna have to do some time in prison. You're probably never gonna get out, but
yeah, but good job.
We're gonna make sure you got a full stomach on your way there.
You know, come on. Look, Trayvon Martin got killed because somebody felt that he shouldn't be walking through their development. And this guy talking about they should move the camp. What if Trayvon Martin would have said, well, then move your housing development. But see, he didn't get a chance to say that because see, in America, we're told where we can go and where we can't go. This guy, he's a white supremacist. He grew up with this entitlement of, y'all can't tell me, especially you people of color can't tell me what to do. If my dog want to shit on your college campus, then that's what he's going to do. You know why? Because I'm white.
So, y'all, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We hope that you learned something. Certainly hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you hear in Luqman Nation, please consider becoming a Patreon or contributing to Luqman Nation in some other way, either through our GoFundMe or through PayPal. You can find us on all three platforms, Patreon, PayPal, GoFundMe, by searching under Luqman Nation, LuqManNation. Tune in to Spreaker tomorrow. At what time?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock-ish.
Yeah.
For Pitbull and Politics. If you thought this was wrong, you just wait. You just tune in to Pitbull and Politics.
On Pitbulls and Politics, I'm just going to let y'all know what y'all in for. Somebody sent me a clip of DMX sermon. Yeah.
Minister
DMX, so tune in for that. Also, we're going to talk about the etiquettes of niggerdom.
What?
Right, that's right. Because we said that the N-word, is an American-made product.
It's true.
Right? So we're going to be
James Baldwin said that.
So we're going to be talking about those things. So tune in. And this is not for those who got weak stomachs. If you're going to come on Pitbulls and Politics, get your Pepto-Bismol together because we ain't going to cut no cards here.
So, look, y'all, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We really love you. Thank you so much for your support. Share this video. Tell your friends about Luqman Nation.
If you dare. If you dare.
And look, as always, be good to each other. Peace, if you are willing to fight for it. Good night.